Look at IBM. Right now, let's switch gears. Let's talk some trading and another pick from Mr. Alan Nuckman, Chief Market Strategist at BullseyeOption.com. All right, Alan, let's talk broad market first. Is this rattling nerves yet?
Well, looking at the picture here, 1.7 is the yield of the 10-year note. And the futures markets are telling us that with all these hikes, we'll be at 1% in short-term interest rates at year's end. So, again, this may be an overreaction. We'll have to let it sort itself out. But there are some positives here. Number one is the PE ratio for the S&P is now dramatically below 20. We haven't seen that in a while because prices obviously have fallen and earnings are still keeping up. And the S&P yield, that's getting pretty attractive. Compare that to the yield in the 10-year note. You know, at some point, these will equalize themselves.
I like that point, that things are getting cheaper. That certainly is one way to look at it. There's a lot of companies, though, that don't have earnings. They don't show up in the PE. Do we need to be wary of the IPOs, the SPACs, and the pre-earnings, pre-revenue stuff? I mean, generally the trades you give us, Alan, you don't really mess with those too much. But what do you think about that cohort of the market? You've been in the game for a while, and that's the stuff that's been not just down the last couple weeks or a month, but trending lower for a year. But they're still the worst performers on days like today.
Right, and it's the shiny new objects. That's what the markets run to, and that's that is a trend and a fad, and we'll see how it all sorts itself out. There's opportunity in a lot of places. I tend to stick to the big name stocks, and I trade what I see in the charts. I try and make it that simple. Don't think, trade. And what I'm looking at right now is a stock that's down at its lows. Very close to it. It had a bullish divergence bottom last week, and it's kind of testing it today. So I'm looking at SOFI. It's been between 14 and 24 almost every session for the last year. Now it's down, testing that low one more time.
SoFi is almost exactly where it was coming in. It was almost exactly where it was a year ago. It's a really interesting chart because when it started off 2021, it had that big run. It did kind of get wrapped up in some of the frothy, shiny new object selling, but it's held this line around here, to your point, around 14. So you're going in and fishing for a decliner here to turn back around. What if it doesn't? I mean, 13% down. How do you monitor a trade when it has this type of volatility? I mean, this thing can go crazy.
Well, number one, I buy in the money options. So the component that's impacted by volatility is the non-intrinsic, the extrinsic value. So buying in the money options, the volatility doesn't get as heightened, doesn't have as much of an impact on the price, number one. So what I'm looking to do is a stock substitution strategy. Getting long, I'm looking at the 10 call. This stock is down 34%, 35% more than that in the last year. So, and that was coming in today. So it's about risk reward at these levels, looking to see how it sorts itself out. I'm going with a June option. And if you've been paying attention to the last couple of months, starting in November, every option play that I've recommended here or talked about has been April or longer. So plenty of time duration, because there was, a sense that the market had come a long ways, that there could be some profit-taking pullback. So the play here, again, is the June $10 call in the money option. It's only 50 cents more expensive than April, so you're getting an extra 2 months of time for an extra $50. We'll look to see where things stand in the next coming weeks, but it's got plenty of time, and that's the point of a play like this.
Okay, so looking for a bounce back and giving it some time. All right, so Alan, yeah, go ahead.
We were at 1650 just Thursday, so this is a swinger, and we'll look to see how this bottom holds and see how it reacts. That's it. Limited risk option. That's the play.
All right, taking a stab. Admire the spirit, Mr. Nuckman, and we'll catch up with you again soon. As always, thanks for the trades, Alan, Chief Market Strategist at BullseyeOption.com. When we get back.